Hey everyone, so this is part 2 of my fairy tale TBR. I explain about this project all in part 1, and I don't want to repeat myself, so go watch part 1 if you haven't. And this part is going to be all of my, those were all of my traditional fairy tale retellings and stuff, and these are going to be my kind of short story collections, anthologies, and books that have a whole bunch of fairy tale tropes and everything, but kind of make up their own fairy tale. So first we have Complete Fairy Tales of Oscar Wilde. I put this in this pile because I'm pretty sure these are all like his take on traditional fairy tales, but I'm not totally sure. Some of them might be his. And it could be that most of them are. I'm not really sure, but I know that the one, I've read 2 of them, The Happy Prince and Rose and the Nightingale, and I know that at least Rose and the Nightingale I've read 4 or 5 different versions of, so I think the one that's in here is just his version. So, yeah, anyway, so yes, that's why this is included in this one, and I'm excited to read it. And then I have Fragile Things by Neil Gaiman, and I'm also going to include Smoke and Mirrors by Neil Gaiman, but I only have the Kindle version. I really want to get a physical copy, but we'll see. But anyway, these are 2 short story collections that I will be reading in their entirety when I read them, but when I do the wrap-ups for this project, I will only be talking about the stories that are either his own versions of fairy tales or fairy tale retellings. So anyway, very excited about these. And then this one, I'm not sure. I would say that it's fairy tale stuff, but it might be considered more myth stuff. This is A Portable Shelter by Kirsty Logan. And it's 13 short stories, and they all tie in together. This is about, I feel like I said this when I hauled it a long while ago, but since that was a long while ago, I will just refresh people's memories. But this is about a lesbian couple who live in Scotland, and they have moved to I want to say like a remote cottage on the sea somewhere in Scotland, and one of them is pregnant, and I think that's why they moved to this place, is because they wanted a nice, safe, cozy home for them and their child. And basically, this is so cool, but okay, for some reason, they have promised each other that they would only tell their child the plain truth, and I don't really know what that means exactly. But I guess it means they won't tell their kids stories. But then they both immediately go back on that, which I find to be really funny. So the wife who is pregnant is Ruth, and she tells the baby stories when Liska, the mother / wife who is out, I don't know I think Liska works, so I think that's why she's like out during the day. So Ruth tells the baby her fairy tales, stories, myths. I don't know if they're based on myths or not, but considering it's set in Scotland, it wouldn't surprise me if they're more based on myths than fairy tales. But anyway, so she tells the baby stories then, and then Liska, this is a part that I find really funny. Liska tells the baby stories when Ruth is sleeping, which I think is really adorable, but I'm like, how does your wife not wake up when you're like whispering to her tummy? Like, I just find that really funny. But anyway, I have read the first story in this, which is called Cutting Teeth, and it's one of Ruth's stories, I think. Yeah, I think it starts with Ruth. Yeah, so it starts with Ruth, and that is one of the stories that she tells, and I really liked it. It was incredibly well written. It was creepy, tragic, beautiful. It was good. It was great. So I'm excited to read the other 12, and I'm hoping to read, since I've already started this, I'm hoping to read one of these a day for the rest of the month, actually. So there's that. And I'm sorry, I just spent a lot more time on that than I should have. Next is School for Good and Evil, World Without Princes. This is book 2, and this is kind of representative of the rest of the series if I end up loving book 2, because Kate Howe has told me that she really loved book 1, but that she didn't really like book 2 much. I think she even DNF'd this, so I'm slightly worried. But I'm hoping that because of how much I loved book 1, because I completely inhaled that thing, that I will really love book 2 and want to move on to books 3 and 4. So, did I say this was by Soman Chainani? And yeah, this is basically all the fairy tale tropes rolled into one really great original story. I really love the first one, so I very highly recommend this series. Next is Wildwood by Colin Malloy and illustrated by Carson Ellis. And this is, again, representative of a trilogy if I like the first one. I don't really know much about this aside from the fact that it is a kind of original fairy tale. I read the summary when I first bought it, but that was long enough ago now that I don't really remember, and I kind of don't want to know. Like, I'd love to go into this as a surprise, really. But yeah, if I love this first one, then I will read the others from the library or something. And then, before I forget it, I want to include The Iron King, by Julie Kagawa, which, this is, I don't really know if this can be considered a fairy tale. It's a literal fairy tale where it is set in a fae realm. So, you know what, I'm going to include it, because it includes, a bunch of characters from Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, and I kind of considered that to be, like, Shakespeare's own fairy tale. So yes, it could be that I'm stretching it a little with this one, but yeah, I'm in the middle of reading this one and I'm loving this reread, and this will be representative of the whole series because it's a series that I really want to get through this year. So this will kind of represent all 7 books and the novella bind-ups. So, yes. And another one that I don't have with me because I haven't actually checked it out from the library yet, that I don't know if it's based on a fairy tale, is The Raven Cycle, specifically The Raven Boys, which is the first one by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't know if that is based on a fairy tale, if it's based on a myth, if it's based on neither. So again, please, if somebody knows, if someone who's read it knows, like, let me know down in the comments, whether it's based on a fairy tale or not, because then I know whether I should include it in this list. But again, that's one that I want to read soon anyway. And then I think I just have 3 more, which is weird. But anyway, Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin, another Mark Helprin book. This was actually the first one that I got. The thing about this film is that I was so excited about this film, and when I saw it, basically how I felt about it was the first hour, great movie. The second hour, great movie. The 20 minutes in between, or like interspersed in it, as to how they bridged the story, pretty bad. Like, yeah, so basically, I love the movie because enough of it is that good, but a lot of people really didn't like it, and I kind of understand why. I thought the bridging of the two stories to bring them together was pretty badly done. So, anyway, but I still really like the film. So I have heard amazing things about the book. And you know, the thing about a film is that when you have a book this giant and then you adapt it into a 2.5 hour film, of course, most of it is going to be left out and some of it has to be changed for cinematic reasons. So yeah, I am super excited about this because, the people who saw the film after reading the book who didn't like the film say the book is 100 times better. And then I think people who liked the film who then went and read the book said the book was amazing. So, yes, very excited about this. Yeah, that one. And I've wanted to read it for a long time. And, yeah, basically this is... I don't know how to explain this other than it is its own fairy tale. But it's very much a fairy tale. Like, it has a lot of fantastical elements that I really, really love. Next is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Now, the reason this is included here is because supposedly this is based on not supposedly, this is based on a Russian fairy tale. And I just don't know the source material at all. So that's why this is included in this pile, because I don't know which fairy tale or what the outline of the original fairy tale was, anything like that. But I am incredibly excited to get to this one. This will be hopefully sooner rather than later. And yes, that one. And then... last but not least, we have The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is about a boy who's, he kind of, I think his mother gets sick and passes away, and then his father, I think, ends up remarrying, and he kind of feels neglected now that he has this new stepmother, and I think they are even expecting a child. So he just feels very much ignored, and it could be that the stepmom doesn't like him. I'm not really sure. And then he ends up, I think he ends up like going through a closet or something, and anyway, I have time to read you guys this. I'll just read it to you real quick. High in his attic bedroom, 12-year-old David mourns the death of his mother, with only the books on his shelf for company. But those books have begun to whisper to him in the darkness. Angry and alone, he takes refuge in his imagination and soon finds that reality and fantasy have begun to meld. While his family falls apart around him, David is violently propelled into a world that is a strange reflection of his own, populated by heroes and monsters and ruled by a fated king who keeps his secrets in a mysterious book, the Book of Lost Things. Taking readers on a vivid journey through the loss of innocence into adulthood and beyond, New York Times bestselling author John Connolly tells a dark and compelling tale that reminds us of the enduring power of stories in our lives. Okay, so I may have actually made up the stepmother part, but I thought that someone mentioned that when they did a review of this book. So anyway, I am very excited to read this, and I hope that I love it. So that is the end of my fairy tale TBR pile for both of these. I don't know why I'm like flailing, but anyway, for both of these videos. Hopefully I have enough space left to do a current reads, and if I do, I will see you for that video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of any of these. Let me know if I am greatly mistaken and that some of these aren't actually based on fairy tales.